Hello and thank you for watching. Dr. Sohial Farzam, Doctor of TCM, founder of Needle Pro Australia. Just want to take this time to do a quick video on the 8 extraordinary channels, more so in terms of some of the reasons why I use them. I have a lot of students asking me because it's one of the channels that I commonly use a lot in clinical practice. And I want to discuss some of the reasons why I use them quite a bit. Now, as you know, most of my main area of work is in psychology and human behavior and emotional imbalances and so on. And the 8 extraordinary channels really provide an avenue for me to really tap into individuals and help them become sort of really the best versions of themselves. So the first thing I want to discuss is really why use the 8 extra channels, apart from some of the simple things that we've been taught at uni. So the first and primary reason as to why I would use the 8 extra channels is really because it allows someone to activate themselves in terms of activate their purpose in life. It really allows someone to find out who they are. It allows them to connect into their sort of their spiritual self and really activate their best version of themselves. In doing so, it allows people to really become more authentic in terms of who they are. See, once we become more authentic, accomplishment is possible in an authentic soul. The reason why most people have failures in life and they commonly get symptoms like anxiety and depression and all this kind of stuff is because really they deviate away from who they are, mainly because of the fact that they subordinate to the people around them, and the people around them basically identify traits within them, and then they feel like they need to compare themselves to other people, and therefore they lose themselves in terms of their self-worth and their self-image and their purpose. So one of the reasons really is because that it identifies people's traits, individual characteristic traits, to really allow them to connect back to their authentic self. And once you live an authentic life, you become a master of yourself and you can master your destiny. So one of the primary reasons, which is a beautiful reason for using these channels, is that it really activates the potential within someone to really stand up for what they believe in and go after what they believe in. That's primarily one of the biggest reasons why I use these channels quite a bit, especially for emotional imbalances. As we all know, emotions are really are ways to basically allow our body to signal things in terms of that maybe this particular path or avenue that we've chosen, which is what's making us emotional, is not really serving our higher self. So the 8 extraordinary channels really sort of come in and dive in and allow us to sort of become better within who we are so that we can become the best version of ourselves, and also we can stand on our own 2 feet to go after the things that we love in life. So as you know, that this is one of the biggest reasons. Chinese medicine alone says that there's 2 reasons why you were born. The first one is the fact that you should find your gift. So you do everything you can to find your gift, your purpose in life. And once you find that, your next mission in life is to give it away, to simply just give it away. Now what that means is that you got to do everything you can within the congruency between your heart and your vision and your mind so that you can find your purpose and then help other people become more empowered in their purpose. So one of the reasons why we talk about what we talk about in Chinese medicine is the fact that once we find out who we are, then we can help other people find out who they are. And one of the biggest reasons as to why most people lose themselves is because they really do subordinate to the thoughts of other people. Most of the time you might have heard people talk about the fact that when your inner thoughts and your inner voices are stronger than the outer thoughts, you become a master of yourself. But unfortunately with most people, the outer voices are more stronger than the inner voices, so they sort of lose a sense of who they are, and then they fall they fall to victim to the fact that other people sort of control themselves and therefore control their destiny. So one of the biggest reasons as to why I use these extraordinary channels is really because they have extraordinary powers. But the authenticity in terms of bringing you back to your authentic self is really the primary reason. I want to quickly go through some of the individual functions just very quickly on the different channels in terms of what they do. So we'll start off with the Chong Mai. The Chong Mai basically is the thing that really gives birth to the rest of the channels, especially the Ren and the Du Mai. So as practitioners, Chinese medical practitioners, we know that the Chong Mai is basically our source channel. So it does have a lot of attribution in terms of influence over blood, and we carry our experiences in our blood. So using the Chong Mai, it allows us really to shift some of the experiences and some of the behaviors that we're used to that no longer serve us. So the Chong Mai is fantastic for things like allowing us to really feel more connected to our identity. So when people lose their identity, their self-worth, they have low self-image of themselves, they sort of deviate away from what they're truly meant to be doing in life, and they sort of go away towards things that no longer serve them. And the best way to understand why or if this is happening is really because your body starts to create symptoms. And the most common one is really anxiety and things like depression and even bipolar, so multiple personality disorder, because you're being pulled to one extreme, but the universe is saying, hang on, this is what you're supposed to be doing, but you're following someone else's path, trying to replicate their actions and compare yourself to someone else. And so Chong Mai is a fantastic channel to really allow you to break some of these experiences of what we hold in our blood, these toxic relationships to other people or even thoughts that we have towards other people, and allows us to bring us back to our authentic self to really master who we are so that we can have a true sense of who we are in terms of our identity. It's also a fantastic channel in terms of your confidence, but also the confidence that you have in terms of your connection to your ancestral upbringing or ancestral energies. So for example, if you're lost in terms of you're not happy with who you are, where you came from, you're not happy with your familial lineage in terms of your culture and your religion and all this kind of stuff, Chong Mai really helps you to sort of ascertain that aspect of who you are and helps you to actually connect back to your ancestral upbringing because you did come from a lineage, and it allows you to accept that, but more so to understand why this is the case. So Chong Mai is fantastic. It's one of the first channels that I use when people really have a sense of loss in terms of their identity, their true identity. Now going forward is the Ren and Du Mai, so the conception vessel and also the governing vessel. The conception vessel, as we know as practitioners, is closely related to the mother. So if people have a lot of misperceptions or misconceptions towards their mother, therefore having a lot of sort of conflict with their mum, the Ren Mai is a fantastic channel to really help people resolve those misperceptions. And it really is a perception problem, not really a reality problem in terms of what you are learning and getting educated by, because the mother in Chinese medicine or really in physiology, the mother provides nourishment and love. But in particular, one of the things that it does offer is bonding. So the Ren Mai can be really used to help people bond better, not just only to their mum, but also to other people around them. So people who have sort of a low self-esteem, they can't bond with people, the Ren Mai is a fantastic point to bring more contentment within themselves so they can have better areas where they can bond to people. But in particular, it's a really good point for people who have conflicts with their mum. Now, one of the things though is that although the mum's supposed to give nourishment, the love and support and so on, one of the things can happen though is that there could be either too much bonding or lack of bonding. Now, how it works is that if people have too much bonding, they sort of become too juvenile. So they become juvenile dependent, and they're going to struggle in life going out after sort of tackling on challenges in terms of what will serve their higher self. So if you have too much bonding with either your mother or maybe other people, you're sort of more juvenile dependent on them, and you'll never become a master of yourself. And the lack of bonding basically allows people to sort of become more precociously independent. So these people also need a bit of bonding because now they're too independent and they see everyone else as an excuse to stay away from, but also they see everyone else to see that they're really trying to hurt themselves because they're so independent. So therefore they're so lacking in connection that once they feel that, they become on the other side of the extreme. So one's juvenile dependency, the other one's precociously independence. One side will help you in a way because you have really good powers of bonding, but also it will make you too juvenile and dependent on the thoughts of other people. Whereas when you're precociously independent, yes, you can tackle challenges in life and you sort of stand on your own 2 feet, but you sort of lose a sense of connection to other people because you have so much ego in terms of standing on your own 2 feet and the fact that you don't need other people. But we all know in life, it takes an individual to really have a vision, but it takes a good team to get you closer to that vision. So it's also good to be in the middle of both bonding in terms of being a little bit juvenile, but also being independent so that you can master yourself and your destiny. The Du Mai basically is the governing channel, and it's the channel that runs along the spine on the back. So being on the spine, some people have what's called a lack of spine, which means they have bad posture. They don't have spine so they can stay erect and firm in terms of the belief of what they are capable of doing. So the Du Mai is closely linked to the father. And so people who have sort of misperceptions and misconceptions in terms of how they feel towards their father, if there's any conflicts with their father, The Du Mai can help resolve that by at least bringing some understanding to it. Now the Father, or the Du Mai, basically the Yang energy, gives you individuation. It gives you independence. It gives you sort of assertion and force so that you can stand on your own 2 feet and have a good posture to go after the things that you aspire to be. So the Du Mai is fantastic to use the Yang part of your body to allow you to stand up for who you are and where you want to go in life. The next couple that I want to talk about is the linking vessels, the Yin Wei and the Yang Wei. So linking basically means that it links back in time, because it sort of links back to your experiences of the past and allows you to derive those experiences so that you can learn and be educated from them. Unfortunately, as humans, most of us like to sort of live in the past. And one of the biggest issues with the fact that we live in the past is that we cannot look forward to going into the future with confidence and stability. So anything that happens to our past, the Yin Wei, basically the Yin aspect of the linking vessel, is connected to our self-contentment, in terms of, are you really content with who you are? Do you love who you are? Do you like yourself? Do you have a strong image of how you see yourself, right? Do you have your life living according to your self-ideals and aspirations and creativity? And do you have creativity? Some people, we lose creativity basically around the age of 6 because our subconscious mind closes in, and then we sort of learn from the experiences of others. And most of the time in our life, we spend our upbringing being told no so many times, so we lose our sense of self, so we lose contentment in who we are. That's the Yin linking. The Yang linking basically also projects and links to your past, but in this case, if you don't have sort of education in terms of what your past was trying to tell you so that you can learn, what you do is you sort of lose the accountability and you project blame onto your past. So whatever happened into your past, you say, well, this happened to me and I blame my past for who I am today. So again, a lack of contentment in who you are today. So if you are connecting to your past and seeing it more as pain rather than just as a service and a mechanism so that you've learned something from it, you sort of lose that accountability, and then you project all that accountability on your past and saying, I'm who I am today because of my upbringing. Anything that might have happened to you in the past that was more painful than pleasure or more traumatic, you'll become a victim to that, and it will actually hold you back because you cannot go after the things that you want because you're completely victimized and paralyzed by all the things that you've had in the past that you believe, it's a perception issue that you believe that's gone wrong. So these two, the linking vessels, help you connect to your past, not so that you can become a victim, but so that you can learn from that, be grateful for it, and then move forward. You see, whatever you're grateful for, you can get more to be grateful for. The statement goes, when we are grateful for who we are or what we have, we get more to be grateful for. So these two linking vessels are really, really powerful channels to help you become more humble and free, and have a lot of gratitude towards the things that's happened to you, the experiences, and so much so that you can actually learn from them, or you should have learned from them. So they're the linking vessels. Now we move on to what's called the Qiao vessels, the Yin Qiao and the Yang Qiao. So they're sort of the stance channels, or the motility or the mobility channels. They're basically called the heel channels as a translation, because they sort of start closer to the heel. Now these are fantastic channels because they're being the heel channels or the stance channels. It allows you to see how you stand up to yourself in life, how you stand up against the world, how you see yourself, your perspective in terms of where you stand in the world, whether that's around your immediate world, like for example your immediate family, but also how you stand against and with your colleagues and your peers and your friends and strangers and so on. See, if you're not really sure in who you are, if you're not certain in who you are, what makes you think the world's going to be certain in who you are? If you don't respect yourself, what makes you think I'm going to respect you? You see what I'm saying? So the fact is that when you're standing on your own 2 feet, because the Qiao, basically the heel, allows you to stand up straight in terms of believing in yourself and your aspirations. If you can stand on your own 2 feet, you become independent from the mother and the father so that you can go out and achieve more in life. But most of us, because we're sort of juvenile and we don't want to tackle challenges away from our upbringing, we sort of get so connected to our upbringing that we become juvenile and we can't express our real powers and our potential to go out and achieve more for ourselves in our life. So the Yin Chai and the Yang Chai basically help us to stand strong in terms of the stance that we need against or with the world. Now the world's not against you. See, most of the time what we do is we project our blame onto nature and say, you did this to me, so therefore I'm a victim of it. But you see, nature doesn't stop for anyone. It doesn't stop for me or you. So we project our deceptions on nature, but nature doesn't deceive you. You deceive yourself, because nature just keeps evolving. And part of our whole purpose in life is to really move forward and allow ourselves to consciously evolve so that we can learn from our experiences. And the Yin Qiao and the Yang Qiao basically allow you to become more content with who you are by giving yourself the force and the stability and the assertion that you need to go after your dreams. And the last one is the Dai Mai, basically is the girdle vessel around the waist, the lower part of the abdomen. The Dai Mai, basically being the belt girdle, literally acts as a belt. So it's got energy force that sort of constricts. But the reason why it does that is because if you imagine a bucket, for example, and if you imagine what I've just talked about in terms of all these channels that come from basically the Chong Mai, the Ren and the Du, the Yin and the Yang Wei, and then the Yin and the Yang Qiao, they basically fall into this bucket, which is a Dai Mai, the girdle vessel. And the Dai Mai is basically the vessel that allows us to sort of let go of things, right? So for example, if you, with most humans, they have trouble letting go. So letting go, we know as practitioners, has got to do with sort of primarily the lung channel, because the lung governs energy and chi and also helps descend it. But also the lungs allow you to inspire oxygen, so you breathe in oxygen, which is basically life. But while you're breathing in oxygen, the lungs also saying you must also surrender carbon dioxide. So you've got to let go of the things that no longer serve you. So the reason why the belt girdle vessel, the Dai Mai, is important in this regard is that we are constantly sort of surrounded by pain and pleasure, so in sort of direct proportions. But the thing is that as humans, we want pleasure, but we try to stay away from pain. But the thing is, if we do that, we stay away from pain, again, we become juvenile dependent, so we don't learn the experiences from pain. And if we don't learn the experiences of pain, they basically go and fall into this bucket, the Dai Mai. And the Dai Mai allows us to hold on to these emotions, and it allows us to not be able to be in a position to let them go. So they become repressed emotions. So the Dai Mai is a fantastic channel to help people with repressed emotions, things that they're holding on to. Now, the reason why people hold on to this stuff is because it's too painful. So the brain has to sort of figure out what it needs to do with it, because one of the two of the primary reasons of the brain is survival and also protection. Protection in terms of allowing you to become comfortable with who you are, where you are. So most of the time we sort of blame people or even ourselves in terms of how we cannot achieve more in life. But you see, we didn't come with instructions. So the brain is completely on your side if you know how to use it. But once you experience pain in the past, the reason why you repress it is because it's so painful, you don't know, you have no contextual meaning to what it meant. So therefore you think it's pain and not pleasure or a service or a learning curve. So the brain has to hide it. But it doesn't actually let it go. It just puts it sort of into latency. And that's why sometimes if you get a trigger or a response from something that reminds you of the pain that you experienced at one point in your life, the Dai Mai starts to bring it up to your consciousness again so that you can hopefully deal with it. But what you do is you think, oh my God, it's painful. This experience is reminding me of the experience I had last time. I must move away from it. So what you do is you actually retract and withdraw, and therefore you don't tackle on the challenge to actually help you resolve that. The Dai Mai basically goes in there, helps you resolve emotional conflict. But in order to do that, it has to squeeze the belt girdle around here to actually allow the emotions to come out. So when the emotions come out, one of the common mistakes that I see from practitioners, because I'm naturally clients who've been around and seeing many practitioners, and the reasons why I guess sometimes I see these results is because I must be in a position to deal with the side effects. See, most of the time when you're trying to help people with emotional instability and emotional repressions from the past, what they do is that the emotions that come back up again, the painful ones, most practitioners don't know how to handle that. So they think that they might be doing something wrong in terms of the points that you've used or the channels that you've used and so on. But you see, the emotions come back up to surface so that you can deal with them. They're coming up to surface so that you can bring contextual meaning to them so that you can help yourself resolve them. And that's exactly what the Dai Mai does. You see, most of the pain that you've experienced from your past, if you don't actually see it as a learning curve, as a service from the universe to help learn from, what you do is you actually, again, you repress it, but also you create boundaries. And the Dai Mai is about you creating boundaries. The reason why most people have sort of a flab or a fatty area around their lower abdomen, and they do all the nutritional protocols and personal training, and they train 6-7 days a week, sometimes twice a day. The reason why that doesn't actually shift is because it's like an armor that's protecting you from coming out into the world to tackle your dreams and go after the things that you like. The reason why you don't do that is because it's going to remind you of how hard it was from an existing experience, which is why it was there in the first place. So the boundaries that you create is like a psychological armor, in this case fatty tissue or toxic fatty tissue, that's sort of holding you and harboring you so that you can actually stay too reserved, and that's going to help you, I guess it's not really going to help you, it's actually going to try to allow you not to express these emotions, and therefore it's going to get you to become stable and comfortable to where you are now. But as we know, comfort is the enemy of success. So the more you try to go away from comfort, the more success that you can get. Unfortunately though, with humans, again with the Dai Mai, what it does is because it's repressing these emotions for you and you don't know how to resolve them by bringing meaning to them, it just holds it like a bucket around the lower abdomen. So using the Dai Mai, it allows you to explore these emotions. It allows you to explore the meaning as to why this happened to you and what it was trying to tell you and serve you. Once you understand that, the brain goes, thank you. You become grateful and humble to the experience because you've learned, because you know you'll never experience or you'll never sort of go back and try to experience that emotion again because it was painful. So the brain goes, well, thank you for learning. Now let's try something else. So the Dai Mai is fantastic to help people with boundaries. One particular area about the Dai Mai is the fact that it helps people resolve past emotional, but particularly sexual conflict in terms of sexual abuse, rape and all this kind of stuff. So the Dai Mai is fantastic, but once you use the Dai Mai, you have to understand that it's going to bring up a lot of emotional conflict of the past because it's trying to help people resolve it. So you must know how to deal with that. In future episodes of the videos I'll be doing, I'll be talking about a few extra points that we can use to help people resolve that. But until then, just remember the extraordinary channels are termed extraordinary for a really good reason. They really activate you, your potential, your purpose. They help you connect to your familial and your lineage and your culture so you can understand who you are. They help you link in time to learn from your experiences. They help you stand on your own 2 feet so that you can go after the things that you love and you aspire to be. And ultimately with the Dai Mai, it basically helps you to stop being a victim of history so that you can become a master of your destiny. Guys, thank you so much. There's a lot of information here today. I'll be doing more episodes on maybe some of the individual points on these channels so that we can get more tailor specific in terms of some of the treatment protocols to help people resolve these emotional issues. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, just shoot them over to me. You can make some comments on the comment section or put your questions in the comment section, or you can email me if it's a private issue at info@needlepro.com.au. That's info@needlepro.com.au. Thank you so much for watching. If you think it's going to help your colleagues, your practitioners or other people, feel free to share. Thank you so much for the support, and I'll see you guys next time.